Or it should be either pass or oppose.
I think that's the debate, isn't it? That's the debate.
Yeah.
The debate is
And it's already
basically,
passed.
no, I think there are two levels of that passing. One is the policy. Okay, that's what happened last week, isn't it? Then now they debate at the ministry level, they said committee level. Okay, where another round of drilling. So I think if they fail to pass that, of course, definitely there must be modification, isn't it? Until everybody is satisfied. But of course, they use the rule of majority. Okay, even with the majority of 1 or 2, still the budget will be passed at the committee level. Okay, so I think both sides understood that how important it is to pass the budget. Of course, there was before the passing of the budget at the parliament level, or they call it at the policy level. Some say that it's okay not to pass the budget. Still, they can pay all the frontliners and the civil servants. But I think those who understood the needs of the constitutions and the financial procedures, because if they fail to pass the budget last Friday, so we may end up without government in January. Okay, I think they understood that. Okay, the way when the opposition explaining what happened. Okay, so because they have to be responsible, they shouldn't be the general public will be at the risk because of political differences. Because now it's different. The situation is very different. Okay, so I think alhamdulillah. I mean, they are very responsible. Okay. Now they are moving towards at the ministry level, where some disagreement. Okay, but nevertheless, as I said, okay, if you follow the process, it turned out to be still they managed to pass the budget even at the committee level. Okay, but very slow, very narrow margin. Okay, 1 or 2. Okay. Representing what happened in the government, because this PN government, the majority is very, very narrow. Okay. I think for our class, I think the most important is the process of approving the budget. Okay, and then how that budget will be allocated to respective ministries and agencies. And that at the end relates to the type of services that will be provided. Okay, so I think I can continue. Right. This one. All right. So from yesterday, I think we discussed on on Monday. Yeah, on Monday we discussed on okay, there's a lot of issues there. Okay, the performance measurement dimensions, then the reporting unit, and then okay, now is the slide showing the impact of new public management and performance measurement, where towards high level of accountability with the results and outcome. And then you look at the bottom there, controls become more strategic. Okay, control here, management controls, budgetary control. Okay, so becoming more strategic because basically impact and outcome closely related to achieving the objective of the organizations. Okay, just why this issue, becoming something that we need to be aware of, because I think in the previous class I continuous many times repeated on the type of measure that it will be used, because the type of measures used represent success of the organizations. So if I think we discussed on in the case of your performance, okay, between attendance and CGPA, attendance and exam grades, right? So either one can become measure for the success, right? And I think it's quite I mean, as a human being, it's always there is an agency challenges, right? So the one who's subjected for the performance measurement will try to minimize their responsibility, whereas the needs of the accountability and the needs of the performance requires, and nowadays, okay, with the very limited resources and the demand of the public is basically very high, then the measures must reflect strategic matters. Right, so that's why we discuss on this holistic performance measurement model applicable to public sector organizations. Okay, I think from time to time I did mention about 3 E's: economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. I think if you can remember this, it's a good, at least something you learn from PSA. 3 E's, right? You can always argue, okay, it's like corresponding to profits. It's not because in public sector you don't have profits. So, but 3 is very close to that, because you talk about efficiency and effectiveness. But if you look at profit organizations, they are basically all their effort translated to the quality of the services that they have. Okay, so even if they have the technology, if they have all the good decisions, good setup for the organizations, but that cannot be translated into quality services, then definitely, at the end, the main funding, the main source of funding is from customers, from sales, from revenues. So similarly, in the case of public sector organizations, okay, when you talk about efficiency and effectiveness, they're all basically result-based, this type of services that they provide, and how well they use the resources. Okay, that's 3 E's. Okay, on top of that, public sector organizations also can use balanced scorecards. Okay, very, very useful. Okay, very simple, but very useful in the sense that how organizations, okay, let's say they receive 1 billion, how they can map, okay, with this 1 billion budget, with their activities, and then how that with their initiatives, bit by bit, every penny can be mapped to the outcome of the organizations. I think that's what balanced scorecard is, if that can be implemented well. Okay, if the balanced scorecards can be implemented well, they enable organizations to have clear mapping of what they are doing with the activities that they have, and then the services that are provided, and how that link to the objective. Okay, but of course, I mean, the development is socially constructed. It's not pure science, or it's not pure mathematics. Okay, it's basically based on consensus in the organizations, and how that they basically the adoption, the governance approval, and all that. Okay, but the manner that how the balanced scorecard is developed, how to make it effective, that's based on the management style. Is what happened in organizations. But anyway, it provide a very useful framework. Okay, even our university is using this in a very high level. Okay, and supporting, at least in organizations, if they don't have balanced scorecard, they must use KPIs. Okay, key performance indicators. All right, for their major activities, so they must develop KPIs. I think these are minimum, because if you look at the integral part of balanced scorecards, it's basically KPIs. But let's say they don't have a full-blown development of balanced scorecards. At least they must develop a certain level of KPIs reflecting their major outputs. Okay. So integrating a balance between input, process, and output indicators or performance drivers as results. Of course, still, if you read that, is basically a balanced scorecard language. Right, relative form measures. Okay, just give more examples. Okay, effectiveness, quality of output. Okay, customer satisfaction. I think effectiveness, definitely customer satisfaction is the easiest. I think many quality or performance-based initiative, okay, requires customer satisfaction survey. Okay, quality, okay, new public management, ISO, okay, and as a best practice. Okay, efficiency, right? You look at that. There are also output-based, time efficiency, yeah? Workforce productivity and time efficiency. So these are two. And on top of that, actually, with efficiency is unit cost. Unit cost can also be used for efficiency. Economy, cost effectiveness. Okay, these are based on process and based on output. Okay, basically economy is reflecting the cheapest cost. I think as simple as that. The cheapest cost. Of course, unit costs based on accrual accounting can help as well in economy. Right, and SDG measures. I think we talk about nowadays, all organizations, both in public and private sectors, they're also focusing on SDG measures. But they need to develop them, reflecting the 17 areas of SDG as highlighted in the United Nations, or by the United Nations. Okay, another example, relative performance measure related to quality management, total quality management. Okay, customer satisfaction also a criteria. Quality-based performance measure. Benchmarking, right? So benchmarking is basically, if you look at that, there are 3: quality awards, quality competitions, citizen charter. All this part of total quality management. So why total quality management is relevant to Malaysian government? Because it was introduced in 1990s, okay, and now definitely become a routine to all government organizations. That's why you can see citizen charter, quality awards. These are common practices or events annually. Even citizen charter or clients charter. Okay, you should be able to see that in in the hospitals, in the schools, even in our university, you can see that. So that's, of course, they must respect that. So important is what they promise to serve the customers. Mainly, of course, the client's charter is related to a time-based performance measure. Okay, how fast they can process, how fast they can entertain the customers. Okay, at point of time. Quality award. Okay, I think still ongoing. Maybe in different names. Okay, we've improved, but it's more towards this quality award performance award. Okay, is basically try to create a sense of competition. Okay, of course they cannot meet the competition as in the market competition, but at least there is a sense of competition to improve the services. Okay, by itself can provide improvement. Okay, with regard to benchmarking as well, beside the awards, okay, they can also part of this ISO. Because some organizations, they continuously get certifications of ISO certifications as a mark of quality of their management or administration or their products. But of course, you have to see the type of ISO certification that they get. Okay, this is applicable for both government as well as private sector. Okay, private sector use ISO for the purpose of basically to get access to different markets. Okay, similarly for the government organizations. Okay, but it's just that the trick is what scope of the ISO certification. Is it process-based or product-based? Okay, for private sector, definitely the highest is the product-based ISO. But generally, people just go for the administrative ISO, okay, just to show as part of their PR works. Okay, another benchmark is basically if they can benchmark with the best practice. Okay, but for government organizations, they can benchmark their practice against their international counterparts. Okay, let's say the hospitals. Okay, they can benchmark against hospitals in other countries. Okay, and let's say there are specific services. Okay, like in Malaysia, there are meteorological department, there are chemistry department. Okay, there are pharmaceutical department. So all these are very technical, professional level type of services. So they can benchmark their services or their operation based on their international counterparts. So they can, I think, across Commonwealth countries, okay, they can learn from each other. Okay, even at the global stage. Okay, so they can choose Okay, Malaysia can learn from. I think in terms of administrative, we learn a lot from Australia. Okay, as well as. But if you look at UK, sometimes the initiative in the UK also, they tend to follow like what we are doing here in Malaysia. So you can see that cross, sharing of knowledge across countries. Okay, balance scorecards, right? Okay, just more highlights. Okay, translating the organizational strategy into measurable goals, right? That's what balance scorecard is. Okay, but of course, the development of the measurable goal is basically the KPIs. Okay, with the KPIs, there's strategic initiative. I think if you remember balance scorecard with the strategic goals, so they must have the key result areas, and then with that they have KPIs, and that with that KPIs they have a strategic initiatives. So what need to be done, okay, to achieve those KPIs? So who will be able to tell the causal relationships between the initiatives, okay, the program, the activities, organizations, to the strategic goals. Okay, that's what knowledge, okay, experience of the managers are very important. Okay, that's why the knowledge workers it's all needed to make sure that good training of all employees, okay, and staff, okay, managers are all very important to make sure that they are equipped with the relevant competencies for them to be able to manage the organizations well. Okay, BSc provide a comprehensive view of organizational performance. Okay, so I think these are the 4 process generally: customer, internal, innovation and learning process, and financial. Okay, of course, I mean, this generally for the private sector, but when we come to the public, okay, they can translate a bit more, but still in terms of the technology, okay, the principles of balance scorecard is being applied. Okay, of course, I mean, in a way that people may argue, balance scorecards is a bit, because nowadays people are monitoring their performance daily, okay, more frequently, right? And then they need to change their strategies much faster. I mean, that is basically management style. I mean, how fast they have, how fast they can change their governance system, you see. I think we can see lean management, okay, where the companies are very, the decision-making process is very fast. Okay, that is basically the decision need to be made by the organizations. Okay, but in a way, government organizations, yeah, you can say that it's a bit bureaucratic for some reason. But every government organizations, they should have enough autonomy for them to manage their organizations well. Right, so I'm sharing here this performance framework, okay, for our university, just recently published, right, shared. So IIUM vision and 7 missions, okay, this with the new rector and the management. Okay, you can see all the critical areas for the university, yeah? Competent leaders, knowledge connectivity, equitable prosperity. Because in this, I think the new part is basically the rector introducing Sejahtera concepts, okay, as well as the SDG. Okay, so you can see clearly there are, I think the center there, okay, humanizing education through Maqasid Syariah and sustainable development goals. So all these criteria need to be translated to KPIs and then the activities in the university. Okay, clearly mapping, right? So I just sharing this how from, so you see my point there, underlying PMS to support this is basically balance scorecard. Okay, of course you can translate in different names, whatever, but in terms of mapping, it's basically the principles of balance scorecard. So you can see, because in the balance scorecard, the most important also is causal relationships, okay, between performance measure and cascading, okay, within the organizations from responsibility centers to the top level. Not only that, there are also leading and lagging indicators. Okay, so that must be recognized and also mapped. But how well this been implemented, okay, so remain to be seen, because some of it, because these are basically reflecting the strategic initiative of the university. Yeah, so you're expecting this to be achieved. Okay, some of them definitely can be achieved in a year. Okay, it can be 5 years or 20 years. Huh? But still, I think we are waiting for the details of this. Most likely, to what extent. I think if you look at previously, URA always the main principle was Islamization. Yeah, but I think all these are basically in the realm of Islamizations, right? With the Markaz Sharia at the center, and I think Sejahtera itself, okay, is basically pretty much as part of Islamic values. Nurturing Budiman, okay, Insan Sejahtera, okay, it's good that you know all these. Huh? So if you look at the top there, leading the way with khair. I think all these are basically in the missions of the university. It's already there for many, many years. Right, but of course you cannot see performance measurement system by looking at this diagram, but this basically become the center of the performance measurement development. Okay, so all these items, okay, should have performance measure. Okay, clearly linked with that performance measure, there are activities. And within activities also, there are other performance measures. Okay, so very deep. As well. So, right, performance analysis. Okay, I think in terms of system, we have discussed. Now we look at performance analysis with the performance information collected. Okay, with all the KPIs, one is the KPI development, and then when we come to implementation, there's a KPI achievement with all the activities and resources. Okay, once the performance is collected, okay, how to make sense of the performance information, the comparison over time series. Okay, I think in accounting it is very clear. Huh? Generally, people just compare for the last year and this year. Okay, maybe for projection purposes, they also look at least 3 to 5 years. Okay, comparison over time. And then comparison of actual performance against standards, variance analysis, okay, if that can be done. At least I think still the major, in terms of financial performance, okay, we can compare between the budget and the actual. Comparison with similar organizations, benchmarking, okay, get their information, okay, based on their annual reports, okay, that can be done. Comparison between geographical areas or institutions. Okay, this basically for within the organizations, because you see like I think one services, let's say schools under the Ministry of Education. So there are how many schools across country? Yeah, so even in one state they can have 4,000 schools, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you can imagine. So different school is basically a responsibility center, okay, or at least a reporting unit. And so how they can compare. That's one. The other, of course, I mean, for other government organizations, okay, like welfare department, for instance, okay, hospitals. What are the majors? Huh? Maybe sewage water services. Huh? Comparison of actual performance against target performance and interdepartmental comparison, okay, particularly within the ministries. Okay, let's say we almost with similar services, they can compare, let's say there is information on unit service, of course, okay, so they should be comparable, but if there is high or low, okay, debate, discussion can be made. I think the idea of performance measure be collected, then it will be discussed among the managers, okay, and then they have to justify and explain. And also that also definitely can become the basis. Yes.
Sorry, sir. There's someone waiting for your approval to enter meeting.
I never approve. It should be auto admitted. Wow, so many. Wow. Any more? All right. While waiting, is there any question? Or am I talking to myself only? Class,
Yes, sir.
does it make sense? Or too theoretical? Okay, all right. I mean, some of these are basically, you know, you have learned in other subjects. It's just that I apply this in the public sector. Okay, and it's very useful.
Sir, I want to ask,
Yes.
who's going to measure the performance?
Sorry?
Who's going to measure the performance analysis?
Oh, okay, that's very good. I mean, you meant to collect, isn't it? To collect the performance information.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, they have to decide in the organizations. They have to decide who is the manager or top management responsible to collect the information. Okay. There are two. One is sometimes for financial information is by the finance. Okay. For other financial KPIs by the human resource. This is also possible. Or they can have a specific unit, performance measurement unit. Okay, so basically compiling all the information. Right, so it's basically decision by the respective agencies. So how they're going to collect the information. Okay, that's one. The other is based on areas as well. Let's say top management, let's say if you look at URA, for instance, we have rector, deputy rectors research. We have deputy rectors for academic. We have deputy rectors for student affairs. So respective rectors office, okay, through their agencies like STAT or like academic unit, these are the agencies that basically will request for all the performance information. And then they will analyze and they will table that to the top management. Okay. So in other words, in terms of collecting information, even at responsibility centers, there must be all the KPI that they need to collect. They must collect the information. They must be ready. So in other words, the top manager, the consolidation by the central unit, but the collection is done at the responsibility level, responsibility center level. Okay, because they receive the budget, they also have their own KPIs that they have to monitor. So when they monitor their KPIs at the responsibility center level, let's say in our case is our kuliah. So our kuliah is basically collecting performance information. So with that information, we also share with, if it is required, we will share to the top management or the central office. So similarly in the case of our government agencies, okay. So a collection of data is generally done at the responsibility center level. Okay, then consolidated by the center. Okay, last time I had a chance to interview one accountant. Yeah, I mean, of course, it was accounting. Anyway, okay, accounting also is part of performance measurement. It was that time was an interview for federal scholarship, okay, to continue their studies. So during that interview, there was one lady. He said, I think she said, so she was basically an accountant at the state level. So every month she consolidating accounts for 4,000 schools. Did 4,000 schools or few hundred schools, but a lot. A huge number of for the units to be consolidated, right? So that's consolidation process. Collection, consolidation, and then reports to the top management. Okay. You have any other question or follow-up questions? Yes. Still people coming. Okay. While waiting, we can have one more question before I proceed. Oh, okay. Hopefully, I'm not. It'll be very boring subject, but it's good. because performance measurement, okay, yeah, maybe in your mind, so how to develop the measures, that's yeah, the local knowledge is needed, because to develop the right measures. But I think to be able to evaluate, I think once the measure, because this involves many parties in the organizations particularly, but in the case of government organizations, there are also some measures being imposed by the parent ministry, okay, particularly, and then how they manage all these measures, okay. I think that's interesting. Okay, if none, then I continue. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right, accountability and governance. For basically the KPIs for accountability and governance, internal performance reporting. Yeah, I think that's what. Reports between ministers and prime ministers. Okay, this very clearly practiced in the under OBB, outcome-based budgeting. Reports between parent ministries and agencies. So agencies basically provide reports to the parent ministries. For like URA, our parent ministry is the Ministry of Education. Okay, so that is expected. As well as report to the Treasury if the KPIs related to what is required for the budgeting purposes. Okay, so KPIs also reported to the Treasury. Okay, in the case of MBS, and still in practice. Right, in terms of frequency, monthly report, quarterly report. Okay, this also being practiced, and then there are rankings. Ranking, I think, more towards local government. Okay. And the universities now, highly regulated, okay, with rankings. Okay, there's so many rankings that we have. Setara, we have for research, and then for teaching, okay, we have, I think, 1 or 2 more rankings. Right, and for the local government, last time they have a star rating, okay, as a kind of league tables, and they can also share their performance information to their annual reports. Okay, and reporting through the parliament as well. Definitely, that's the main channel actually. Okay, after the to prime minister, they also have to report to the parliament. Okay, but still at this point unclear. Okay, the groups of KPIs that have been reported to the parliament. Okay, so no, there is no clear cut yet, but it was started with outcome-based budgeting. It is still at the executive level where it is reported to the Prime Minister. Okay, but that's what it should be. Okay, the development. Right, external reporting. Okay, SDG rankings for the university. So I just give an example there. So I think universities are, you can see clearly, okay, the importance of ranking. Myra, yes, I think the research is Myra. Setara is on teaching, isn't it? And league tables. But for other government organizations, possibly they can involve in international competition or international awards. Okay, but that one is case by case basis. It's not like for annual ranking. So that's why quality ranking case should be still in practice, so that at least there's a sense of competition across government agencies. Otherwise, the demand, another way to provide push to the top management so that they perform better is the pressure from the public. Okay, and nowadays I think with the social media, okay, all these play important role in the democratic system. Right, we move on. Challenges of performance measurement. Insufficient information, performance data are not collected. Source of performance data are from multiple sources and difficult to obtain performance data on time. Okay, and even if you look at auditing, so financial government audit, okay, so KPIs may not be in the scope yet. Less quantifiable objective. public sector objective difficult to measure. The benefit and welfare of the public, improve the standard of living, quality of health and education. Okay, so they need to decide. So what level of measures? But of course, I mean, through benchmarking and all that, the relevant measures can be developed. Okay, can be tested, and then through time they have the experience. Okay, they can improve further. But how to improve further? These are very dynamic. That's why I think stakeholders' pressures play a very important role. Challenges in infrastructure, lack of relevant expertise among civil servants about performance measure, underutilization of managerial accounting and information system. Okay, so the system can be there, but how to develop, because we need people and also system to make sure that data are being captured and then being reported. And not only being reported, the issue of reports, but once it is available to the top management, do they use them or not? Okay, so because there are some performance measures simply for compliance purposes, because they are required by the parent ministries, so they just report, but do they being discussed and deliberated at the responsibility centers level or at the program level? The absence of relevant institutional incentive to promote efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, this also can be challenging. Yeah? Okay, the drive is just basically finishing the budgets. Okay, so all these are is a dynamics within government organizations. That's why when I discuss about budgeting, the planning, quality of planning is very important. Okay, because the government organizations at the end, they are not under a market mechanism. Okay, so really efficiency, okay, is basically the responsibility of the management to observe. PMS adopted but not useful for strategic purposes. No clear linkages between KPIs of agencies and outcomes. Agencies' activities have only indirect impact on results and outcomes. Example, Department of Environment to improve air and water quality. Okay, this also can be challenging. Sometimes one policy outcome have multiple agencies to achieve. Okay, when if you talk about I think the earlier part of the semester, for instance, like the illegal immigrants, okay, the drug addicts, all these main problems, even the road accidents, there are multiple agencies that basically to achieve the policy. Influence of government in ensuring achievement of government policy. Government is not the sole factor in ensuring any achievement of the public sector objective. Interdependency of various government organizations to address a policy problem can be a coordination challenge. But the only thing that nowadays, in terms of coordination, is a big improvement, where they always use one-stop center, where to address. I think definitely COVID is a good example through the use of National Security Council, right? So where all parties basically work together. Okay. That's one good example. I think it become a global example for Malaysia to manage COVID, right? Where they have the one-stop center, but through National Security Council. But what about other issues? Okay, so these are. I think definitely this platform is used in terms of security. Okay. Absence of market for the outputs. Okay, absence of market price for services. What use of non-financial measures and financial measures? I mean, these are challenges, but doesn't mean that the challenge cannot be addressed. Okay, but it cannot be solved in its entirety as well. Scope of responsibilities and accountability structure are not clear. Yeah, these are examples. You see road accidents, drug problems. Okay, there is a possibility of overlapping. So that's why dialogue, deliberation is very important. But nowadays with the technology, as well as with information system, okay, definitely this can be done. I think one good example was security. Last time there was, I think during Datuk Sri Syamuddin, there was a massive increase in crimes. Okay, but they managed to mobilize all the multiple agencies together. I think that's why the function of RELA at that time suddenly becomes so important. I think still remember, because if you look, if they just rely on police force, is very minimal. Like police force is around like 200,000. Okay, the army, okay, let's say another 200,000-300,000. Okay, very minimal to control the entire country. So what happened? They used the service of RELA, and suddenly the force become more than 3 million. Okay, and then that, I think at that point, there is a significant reduction of crime rate. That point. So these are example of multiple agencies work together. Tangible results of activities are not expected to materialize for years. Annual measure of outcome may not be appropriate. Yes, I mean some, they take more because budget is annual, but the impact for certain activities may take some time. Other factors: economic trend, demographic, environment. Okay, yes, other factors for challenges. Right. Another is about dysfunctional behavior generated by PMS. So the use of KPI, of course, is very important, very good to make sure that good use of money, okay, or value for money, but it must be used with care. Okay. Okay, I think this is also applicable to all technology, isn't it? So similarly in a performance measure. Okay, one dysfunctional behavior, they call it tunnel vision. Okay, concentration on areas included in the performance measure scheme exclude other important areas. Okay, if let's say, that's why it's very important to translate the all strategic objective into KPIs. If strategic objectives, okay, are being developed but without KPIs, so those strategic objectives will be ignored by the managers, right? So because tunnel vision, because KPIs become the center of their performance promotion as well as their performance assessment. Okay, so that's why it become tunnel vision. Sub-optimization pursued by manager of their own narrow objective at the expense of strategic goals. It's also possible. Myopia, concentrate on short-term issues versus long-term factors. This one is short-termism. So I think it's applicable for both public and private sectors, where they just focus on their annual targets. Because market environment is very dynamic. Okay. The people changes, their demand changes, technology changes, all these create new opportunities, right? But if the KPI cannot encapsulate or cannot capture these dimensions, so the managers can easily ignore all these opportunities. Okay, so to make sure that they achieve their KPIs, and then they can become very, very successful. Okay. Convergence emphasis on not being exposed as an outlier on any of the performance measure. Avoid detailed scrutiny in the case of management by exception. Okay, so basically still focusing on the KPIs, but sometimes okay, there are opportunities. Okay, they need to deviate from the initial plan, but through PMS sometimes the managers reluctant to do that because it is not within their scopes of responsibilities as reflected in the KPIs. Ossification, a disinclination to experiment with new and innovative methods. Okay, because their focus is achieving KPIs, as I said. Okay, environment very it's very dynamic. That is why I think the KPI shouldn't be too narrow. Okay, in the measure, should be broad enough, and then to make sure that the managers have that flexibility, and there is opportunity for innovation. They should be able to introduce the innovation. Okay, or maybe innovation as an integral part of their exercise, but do not overdo, because innovation cannot be done annually. But sometimes organization, because as part of the ISO certification or the quality related system, the required innovation need to be done annually. Sometimes it's also not shouldn't be overdue because it create pressure to the managers. Gaming, altering behavior so as to obtain strategic advantage, setting modest targets, achievement of which appear an improvement. Okay, so gaming, okay, basically, as we discussed, okay, like yourself, you choose attendance over grades, right? So that's why the top manager has to be very careful to choose the right measures. That's one. The other is, of course, the level. Okay. Okay, which one is reflecting good KPI, okay, in terms of quantity. Mispresentation, of course, this is worse when involved fraud as well as creative accounting. It's an example, okay? Yeah. That is dysfunctional behavior. I think generally, if you look at literature or articles, very rare they discuss this dysfunctional behavior, because generally they take performance measure as optimal. Okay, but actually it's very important to understand this. If you want to design the performance measurement system, you must take this into account. So do not. It's not like we have become the victims of numbers. Okay, I think as an accountant, we know the limit of numbers. And we know what is the benefit of the numbers. To how to manage those. Okay, to make sure that all these dysfunctional behavior or the organizations will not become the victim of this dysfunctional behavior, because it can be very damaging in the long term. Okay, critics and evaluations or development of PMO, PM in public sector organizations. Often public sector managers pursue their own financially oriented PM and pay symbolic attention to multidimensional model of imposed performance measures. Okay, so this in case of when budget performance is more important than others. Strategic PM not used for operating level of decision making, while the financially oriented still largely in use. Okay, so I think very similar. PM is not adopted as technical efficiency approach for increasing the productivity of public services. PM here performance measures adopted to meet external stakeholders' expectations, leading to window dressing. PM was used to comply with the external demand of accountability. Okay, yes.
So sorry, can you go back to the previous slide?
Okay.
This one, sorry, I don't understand what's mean by pay symbolic attention to multidimensional model.
Okay, symbolic attention here is if the performance measure, they are requested to prepare and then they requested to report. Okay, it's more on towards top-down approach. So in other words, they will comply, they will provide the information, but it's not really useful in their decision making. Okay, so that's why it becomes symbolic. Okay, just for show, right?
Oh.
For show. Is it possible? Is that can happen? It happened. Okay, if it is not carefully crafted, it happened. Okay, it happened.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the most important of performance measure is at the end it will reflect the quality of services, and then the competency of the people also is very good to achieve. We become, I think, the idea of a center of excellence. Okay, where you can really produce good output, good services. Okay, may not necessarily you follow the global performance measure. Okay, so how to be able to achieve that? I mean, all this discussion basically give you the knowledge so that when you get involved in performance measure at the policy level, so you need to recognize all this. Okay, it's not simply just developing numbers and pass it to all the managers. Okay, so it's a lot of discussion and analysis, okay, to make sure that the measures are correct. Okay, right?
Yes, sir. Exactly. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, so that's why you see this point: legitimacy over substantive change. Legitimacy here just to comply. I mean, you need the KPIs. Okay, we'll develop something, we report, but no substantive change in the way that the management being done. Okay, so that can happen. PM info was not used to improve client-related performance. Okay, so at the end, of course, I mean, you talk about services, the target groups, what you provide to the target groups, more important than others. Okay, managers use one set of PM to satisfy external scrutiny, while the same manager internally adopt more realistic measures for internal performance assessment. Okay, this also can happen. All right, in a way, yeah, that's why I think to develop good performance measure, okay, So the feedback from the line manager is very important. Okay, and if they are responsible, they can, because they understand okay, they have the knowledge, they are professionals. Okay, they know what is the best practice. Okay, their inputs are important, but doesn't mean that they can decide. But the dialogues, the information to achieve what is good for the organizations. But of course, at the same time, that also you need to recognize that, okay, like let's say for this university, for instance, now we are moving from one set of measures to another, to the enhanced set of measures, which is before, okay, we are focusing on Islamizations, then Islamization of knowledge. Okay, we try to embed. It's not easy, right? You are, now you are final year, so what Islamization is in this environment. But now we are moving also with the Sejahtera and SDG concepts. Okay, so there is change. I mean, for the leaders, this is what they must do. If they think that these are very important to the university, that can enhance our achievement of our strategic goals of the organizations, they must do that. But remember, because every government organizations, they are being mandated, okay, either by the passing of a statutory acts or by the executive decision, okay, through their memorandum of association, or now it's a memorandum of what do you call it, the constitution of the organization. They must achieve. Otherwise, the parliament can block the funding. Okay, if the organization they fail to achieve the objective, the government can close the organization. Okay, to that extent. So those who are being given the responsibility to manage, okay, they must make sure we always achieve our objective. Okay, our initial objective, where with this university are initially being promoted, being rooted. So Islam is in the DNA of this university. Okay, how to remove that? It cannot be removed. If it is removed, then the whole university collapses. Okay, so that's why if there is new changes, so Islam must be in the integral part of the system. Okay. Wow, still a lot. Oh, another 7. Okay, quickly, I go through. Okay, PMS in Malaysian government. Okay, financial management reform, outcome based, I think we discussed already. Modified budget system, we discussed. Accrual accounting, we're going to discuss. Activity-based costing, okay, I think it's part of when we discuss outcome-based budgeting. Internal audit, okay, we'll discuss in the future topics. Accountability index, okay, I think we'll cover as well. Managerial reforms, okay, TQM, ICT in government, okay, National Blue Ocean Strategy, GTP, ETP, Star Rating Index, all these are related to KPIs. Result-based management, okay, I think you can link how this equally link. It's just that if you look at accrual accounting, and then accountability index is basically by National Audit Department. Okay, through OBB, there are basically supporting the KPIs at the agency as well as at the national level. Okay, that's why, okay, if you look at the MBS bring a significant a catalyst to all these new performance measure initiatives. Okay, monitoring and evaluation. Okay, I think even in the government system now, they call it My Results, an integrated e-system for performance management system. My Results. Okay, is there? Key challenges in performance, another challenges. No enforcement mechanism to ensure the ministry submit data when required. No mechanism to verify and validate the quality of data submitted. The volume of data generated risks of overwhelming staff and in turn obscuring potentially meaningful findings. To analyze performance information, big data analysis capability, okay. But big data nowadays, I think, pretty much being promoted by the government. Even I think generally, I think gradually now, they are in the process of converting or enhancing their information system so that they can develop big data information. Okay, recently when we have this certification, now because our faculty or kuliah is applying for PDTI status, so you make dua for that, right? Premier Digital Technology Institute. So I mean, it's good that at national level that we should be known as promoting digital technology in including big data. Of course, these skills you'll be equipped yourself. I think, of course, now we are moving towards this, incorporating all these new skills into our syllabus. You may or may not be able to get because some of you are finishing, isn't it? But you can definitely equip yourself in the future. At least you get the basic understanding of this. You know, through and then the analytical skill. So the government is supporting pretty much this. Okay, through IoT, Internet of Things, and then through big data, and then with the analytical skill. So that's why you know, some of our graduates also they are moving towards this. It's not that you're full blown as a big data scientist, but at least you are equipped yourself because our professional bodies also they recognize this dimension and they equip their professional body with including their certification as well as the members with all these knowledge and competencies. Okay, and our government is pretty much supporting this. Okay, I think if you look at recently, yeah, one of the department was statistic department. They said that they already have big data as part of their database, and how they can analyze. Okay, so we also train our student. That's why we introduce for audit this ACL. Okay, be able to analyze big data information. Of course, not pure big data. At least structured big data in that sense. So at least you have that understanding. Nowadays, you're not okay. No more sampling. Audit is no more sampling. I think all these big four also they are moving towards all these capabilities. Okay, right. I think you can read this. Key challenges in performance management initiative, tools to encourage greater focus on performance, authority of program managers to manage. Okay, reward system are not well aligned. Okay, individual performance, civil service management policies and practice for talent management were not developed with OBB in mind. Performance information may not be received by senior policy makers or parliament as sufficient value to inform their decision budget decisions. And accountability, authority of program managers, accountability for performance need to be aligned with the authority to manage. Although outcome-based has given program managers greater flexibility over reallocation of fund, okay, there's still some constraint. These are some highlights. The way forward, encourage timely and accurate reporting on performance by ministries when and where it is most relevant to the policy decisions. Develop the technical capacity to evaluate performance information, analyzing big data, performance dashboard in real time for both financial and non-financial performance. Improve demand for performance information by linking it to individual and institutional recognition reward system. Okay, I think all these are very important. Okay, I think pretty much. Any questions?
Sir,
Yes.
slide number 37, like looking at the challenges, I just wondering like who are responsible for those challenges? Like there's no enforcement, no mechanism. Is it to who are responsible for that? Minister or bodies or government bodies?
Okay, enforcement. Okay, the easy way to understand it, okay, you bring, when we discuss on, let's say we just focus on for budget, definitely controlling officers, okay? Then controlling officers delegate to responsibility centers. That's for budget, okay? And then KPIs also being promoted, okay? But now I think with outcome-based budgeting, it's more coordinated, where the Prime Minister himself is pretty much involved in the overall performance measurement system. So the cascading of the performance measure from the national level to the responsibility centers at the ministry. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, let's say this the budget holder of the responsibility center, then they are accountable to the superior. Okay, so let's say in our university, so the dean is accountable to the top management, to the rector. Okay, but of course there are platforms to report the performance measure. Okay, through various committees. Okay, so through these committees and meetings, then they can enforce. They can basically, okay, if you don't achieve your targets, okay, what happened? Okay, generally because of peer pressure, all managers try to meet the targets. Peer pressure. That's one. The other, of course, performance assessment. Okay, so the enforcement is based on the same structure of. I think if you consider a responsibility center structure, this is also good enough to understand the enforcement of the performance measure. Are you with me? So basically, okay, you must recognize first. Let's say we take URA as an example. So of course, the main rector is accountable to the minister, okay, to the prime minister. But we have kuliah and faculties and divisions. So all these heads of the kuliah and faculties and divisions, they are accountable to the top management. Okay, like myself, okay, I'm the deputy dean, so part of the management. So I have my KPIs that I have to observe. Then I have to, when the times that need to report, I report both to the faculty as well as to the central office. Okay, like that, for instance, and also deputy rector. So we must make sure that okay, what we are responsible for, we need to have the information. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right. Any other? How do you find this topic? Very easy to follow or very confusing? Or somehow manageable to follow? Or quiet means? Sorry?
Manageable.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Brother Ahmad. Okay, since no questions, so I will end this session with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum. Or before that, let me take the attendance first.
Sir,
Yes.
I sent you an email earlier. Did you receive it?
I received it, Sister Hidayah. I will reply, but it's good. But I will share with the class as well. Okay.
Right. Sure.
Because your question, I need to review some of the slides. Okay, but there's also one question. This with regard to assignment 2. Okay, one group asking like, do we have to follow like the assignment 1, where hold on, just a quick. Hello. Nanti apa call balik? Apa dia? Okay, sorry, there was a call from my son. Right, what did I say? Yes, some of you, one of you was asking for assignment 2, do we need to, or do you need to study specific agency? Okay, if you look at the topic, is all are technical topics and accounting topics. Okay, you may or may not, okay, but it depends on your decision. If you think that by discussing one agency as a case to make your argument stronger, yeah, of course. But without referring to any government agency, but still you can argue better, it's also possible. Okay, so I don't make it as a must. But because the topic is accounting topics, but it's just that my suggestion. Okay, it's not that I put it as a must. It's just that what you have learned from assignment 1, you have good understanding of the issues. Particularly, some of the topics are related. If you choose, like, if it is related, so you can still use whatever you have learned in assignment 1 as much as you can. Okay? Are you with me?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I make it very flexible, but it's basically you are developing an argument when you preparing the assignments, isn't it? Okay, just demonstrating your knowledge, demonstrating your understanding, as well as and how that can be applied for public sector organizations. Okay, so you can definitely discuss why it is needed, how important it is. Then you can give examples, and then if the government organization fail to have that, or to make not to implement in an adequate manner, so what will be the implication? That's also possible. Okay, but if a topic like MPSAs, for instance, but interestingly, not a single group chose MPSAs. Huh? Let me check. Your group, you have MPSAs? Section 2. Is there any group showing MPSAs? Yeah, none, isn't it? Is there any group you study accounting standard? I did not see this. Yeah, so of course, if it is MPSAs, it's very technical for accounting standards. Okay, then you just discuss in that manner how the government can implement, what will be the challenges. This more on literature review. Okay, but if you have the chance to, but I'm not make it a must to interview with but if you have, then it's a, you set standard for your friend. Okay, it's good. It's good. I value all those extra initiative, highly valued. Okay, that's why I mentioned in all the students. Okay, if you can interview Prime Minister, your chance to get 90 marks over 90 is very high, for instance. Okay, but doesn't mean without interviewing the Prime Minister, you cannot get 90 above. It's also possible. Okay, so it depends on your arguments and your discussion. Is it fair or unfair?
Fair.
Okay.
Oh, sir.
Okay. Okay. Then I end this. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.